Hello and welcome to a new episode of This Week in BJJ. I'm Budo Jake, and today is July 15th, 2015. On today's show, we're going to talk about the new updates to the 5 Grappling Super League event. We're going to take a look at a match between Combrido and Roger Gracie. And we have an interview and techniques by Justin D, better known as Juggs, who runs an Atos affiliate out of Australia. So let's get to it. First of all, I want to thank my friend Akuma Shogun for the cool Dalsim t-shirt. Dalsim is my favorite character from Street Fighter, so thanks again for the shirt. Before we talk about 5 Grappling, I want to talk about Kali Cure. Kali Cure is the best and only way to recover from cauliflower ear by yourself at home. Cauliflower ear is something that you're going to run into sooner or later if you grapple with enough strong guys. You know, you're going to rub your ear, the cartilage is going to separate, it's going to get poofy, and if you don't like that look, you need something to take care of it. You can go to the doctor, you can spend the money at the hospital to take care of that, or you can get the Kali Cure set. I wish Kali Cure was around when I had cauliflower ear problems because it's a really cool way to take care of it. Take a look at KaliCure.com or on BudoVideos.com for the Kali Cure set. Okay, 5 Grappling. They are doing something really cool this year. They're doing a Super League event. This is a men's 8-man tournament and a women's 8-woman tournament. It's going to be held at Studio 540 on August 2nd. In recent episodes of This Week in BJJ, I've told you guys some of the names who have been added. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but just the most recent additions. Both 8-person brackets have been complete. The new addition to the men, the last guy to be added, was Abraham Marte from the Dominican Republic. He is certainly a big, strong, and technical competitor, so that's going to be a really interesting mix. And there's also been, in the women's division, there's been one change. Angelica Galvao is out, unfortunately, and she's been replaced by her teammate Chelsea Leah. And also Luisa Montero has been added. And finally, Mackenzie Dern, world champion Mackenzie Dern has been added. So both brackets are complete, the men's and the women's. To see the full list, go to 5grappling.com. But man, they really filled out these brackets. It's going to be a really fun event. And not only is it going to be an 8-man men's and women's bracket, but there's also going to be 2 super fights. One of them that has been recently announced was Gary Tonin versus Joao Miao. This is a rematch. They met at the Jiu-Jitsu battle a couple years ago, and man, what a great match that was. You can see that one on YouTube, and this rematch is something that a lot of people are going to be looking forward to. And of course, the other super fight is Keenan Cornelius versus Otavio Souza. So man, August 2nd, mark your calendars. This is going to be a really fun day, and congrats to the 5 Grappling guys. You guys really set up a phenomenal tournament. Okay, before we get to the interview, I want to take a look at a match that just happened a couple days ago. This happened at the American Nationals. This is a jiu-jitsu tournament put on by the IBJJF. This year it was held in conjunction with the UFC Fight Week in Las Vegas. And not only was it a tournament, they also had a couple super fights. And the one super fight I want to look at today is Roger Gracie versus Combrido. And let's just break this down here. Okay, so the match starts out. They secure their grips while they're standing, and it's kind of typical with old school guys. They don't just quickly pull guard, they'll kind of test each other out while they're on their feet. Here Combrido drops down and secures a single leg. Roger does a nice job of defending, but eventually gets taken down. Roger quickly recovers full guard, and now he goes on the offense. Roger secures a cross sleeve grip and a grip on the triceps. This allows him to drag Combrido's arm across his body. And from here, Roger is working his way to the back, but Combrido defends well by posting his foot and moving his body to his left. Roger counters Combrido's defense by stepping on his hip, forcing Combrido to drop his knee to the mat. From there, Roger was able to sweep Combrido all the way to the mount. Okay, let's watch that once again. Here you can see Roger arm drag Combrido. Now Roger switches his grip And now you see Combrido stepping up his left foot to stop Roger from going to his back. Roger then opens his guard and steps on Combrido's hip. Once Combrido's knee drops to the mat, that's the angle that Roger needs to sweep to the mount. From here, Combrido gives up his back and Roger works his back attacks for a while. Combrido defends the choke well, and Roger then opts for an arm attack. Roger comes up to 3/4 mount and waits for the right timing to free his left leg. He stifles Combrido's defense by pulling his far arm to his own chest. Then Roger traps the arm by grabbing his own collar, stepping over Combrido's head, breaking the grip, and falling back to secure the arm lock. So congratulations, Roger Gracie, on your win at that super fight. And now it's time for the interview. Today's guest, all the way from Australia, this is Justin D, better known as Juggs. I've known him for a long time. I remember he put out a DVD on his training in Japan a long time ago. He's been in the game for a long time. And he also is the second black belt awarded from the Mendes Brothers. So that's a pretty unique distinction. He runs an academy in the Gold Coast of Australia. And we had a nice conversation talking about teaching and training and the Mendes Brothers. And after the interview, he teaches a couple really cool sweeps. So I think you guys are going to enjoy this. Let's take a look at Justin D. Hey guys, welcome back to This Week in BJJ. Today my guest is Justin D, better known as Juggs. And Justin, I see you almost every time you come back to California. I appreciate you stopping in today. What brought you here this time?
A student of mine won a competition for a grappling tournament in Australia, and his coach basically got to come with him on the trip to Las Vegas for a week to attend the UFC fight week. So, you know, we lucked out. It was really, really good.
And you're the coach?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. So, and also one of the ladies that fights out of my gym was fighting on Invicta. So it worked out really well. Got to corner her as well, and yeah, it was good.
So you were at Fight Week, which is an event in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't make it, but tell me a little bit about it.
Well, I've been to Vegas once in '96, just as a tourist, and this time was the first time I'd come. Like, I think as an experience, I've been to America a few times now. I got to come as an experienced sort of traveler, so it was really, really good. I understand why they call Vegas like the playground for adults. It is pretty crazy. You can spend a lot of money. The Strip is pretty crazy. But UFC Fight Week was really good. It was really enjoyable. I personally, I just like to see how many people that are into like the UFC and fighting and things like that. Just really, really enjoying the vibe. You know, I think you couldn't not have a good time that week, just because everybody was just excited for the UFC. It was a good event, and it was good for me to catch up with my friends from AOJ at the US Nationals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah, this was an unprecedented event in that Jiu-Jitsu was tied to the UFC for the first time. Mm-hmm. The US Nationals is an event that used to be held in Southern California. This time it was in Las Vegas to coincide with the Fight Week. So it was a kind of a co-promotion with the Nationals taking place during the Fight Week. Do you think Jiu-Jitsu relies on MMA for its growth?
Personally, no, I really don't. I think it's really coming down to a point where people either do Jiu-Jitsu or you do MMA. Like, there's gyms. When I first started, there was gyms. Jiu-Jitsu was really, really small in Australia, and there was gyms that taught like Jiu-Jitsu, but they also taught other martial arts. I mean, in America now you have gyms that are solely just Jiu-Jitsu gyms. Do you know what I mean? Like, and gyms teach like MMA, or they're a boxing gym that teaches Jiu-Jitsu as well, or something is in their curriculum. But it was unheard of in Australia for a long time, with the exception of Peter Devine, that academies would just teach Jiu-Jitsu. But now there's academies all over the place that just teach Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, it's been like that in America, I understand, for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. So I don't think they necessarily need the UFC.
Right. You know, you mentioned that there's some schools in America that are devoted to just jiu-jitsu, and even beyond that, there's almost a fragmentation where there's some schools that are devoted to just MMA jiu-jitsu, some schools that are devoted to strictly sport jiu-jitsu, some schools self-defense. And I had a friend that was asking me the other day, he was thinking about redesigning his curriculum for his school, and I think it's hard to teach a comprehensive view of jiu-jitsu. There's so much to know. You know, can you effectively teach self-defense, sport jiu-jitsu, you know, jiu-jitsu with gloves to a student base that's coming 2 times a week?
I think you have to, as like the professor or the coach of your gym, you would have to personally decide what you want to bring to the table. Like, what do you want your students to learn? And I think that's the way it's always going to be. Some people will always want to, okay, we have to teach self-defense, or some people will be, we only do sport jiu-jitsu. Personally, myself, I'm a gi man. Like, I love no-gi. You know, I probably consider myself better in no-gi, but I love the gi. But if you're me, my jiu-jitsu, I just like teaching jiu-jitsu that I like to do, if that makes sense. And, you know, I think I teach a lot of stand-up as well, a lot of wrestling as well. But I personally teach jiu-jitsu with the mindset that anybody that walks in the door that wants to come and learn jiu-jitsu under myself, that everybody will get their needs met. You know, whether it's self-defense or just to lose weight. Some people just want camaraderie.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Some people, they just want friends.
Yeah.
And some people want to fight. Some people want to compete. I personally think I can deliver all that to people. I just believe in what I do. But yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, we just do jiu-jitsu. I mean, we have people that now fight out of our gym, but I just teach grappling and jiu-jitsu. You know, I don't teach a self-defense part to it, and some people may say, you know, you're missing out on a whole element of the real jiu-jitsu. But I'm of the same mindset of a lot of people, that I think people that do jiu-jitsu after a while could pretty look after themselves if they're in a street altercation. Do you know what I mean?
For sure. It certainly toughens you up.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the only sports that we have, or martial arts that you have, where you'll do 100% like live rolling. You know what I mean? That's really hard in a lot of any martial art or any sport as well. So we have that as an asset, really. Yeah. And I think just it's an adrenaline thing. If it became like an altercation, the adrenaline would go up. But I think even the person who got into that scramble of an altercation, because we've all had one, it's a blur.
Yeah.
But you'll go on instincts and what you actually do on the mat. You know what I mean? Like, wherever you are, even if you ended up on your back because someone socked you in the mouth or something, you ended up on your back, you would know, you would just hip escape or get guard or do what you do.
Right.
You know, whatever your personal body movements were, your body intelligence and your body movements would know what to do.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a common misconception that sport jiu-jitsu guys are going to pull guard on the street.
Yeah, I mean,
no one in their right mind would do that.
No, like I've literally said it in my class to people, like, do not pull guard. You know what I mean? If you're in an altercation, I always say the best self-defense, that way.
Yeah, for sure.
Run away, for sure. Yeah.
So you have the unique distinction of being one of 2 guys promoted to black belt under the Mendes brothers. How did your relationship start with them?
I believe there's quite a few black belts now.
Is there now?
Yeah,
Okay.
There's quite a few now. Yeah, I was number 2.
You were number 2, though.
Yeah. When I was a purple belt, I was a massive fan of the Mendes brothers, and because I think and I say to my students all the time, and I reiterate this point a lot, that in my opinion, the purple belt is the best belt. It's the most fun.
Yeah.
Because you've got really good skills, and after watching competitions here in America now, especially this weekend with the U.S. Nationals, man, purple belts are amazing. They're so good.
Yeah.
They're so good. And I was a purple belt, so I think it's the best time, because you're excited. Do you know what I mean? You know a lot of skills. You're really dangerous, and you don't care.
Right.
You don't care. You're really reckless, especially if you're a young guy. You're like you think you're Superman, and you really want to experiment, and you want as much information as possible. So I was doing a lot of trips to Japan for training. You know, I didn't know Southern California was the mecca of jiu-jitsu, and I was a big fan of just Japanese culture and a lot of Japanese fighters when I was into MMA before jiu-jitsu. So I went to Japan a lot, and when I went to Japan, I used to buy tons of the BJJ Spirits magazines, like tons of those magazines, and I used to always see the ads for like Bull Terrier, and it'd always have these two guys that looked identical at the time, you know what I mean, with the same haircuts and everything. And you still think, who the hell are these guys? You know, like, I think they were maybe even purple or brown at the time. And I kept looking and seeing their techniques, and I thought, these guys are amazing. They're amazing. So I just kept following them and kept following them. And then I opened my own academy, and you know, I didn't really have a coach. I opened as a brown belt. I opened my own academy, and when I didn't have a coach, I was like, well, I can pretty much get who I want. So I figured if I didn't have a coach, I'm just gonna fly people in. That's all I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna fly people in and go, okay, so on my hand, I went, who's the top 5 people that I personally would like to help my jiu-jitsu journey and my students that I think, and the Mendes brothers were at the top, you know. Ryan Hall was on there, Jeff Glover was on there, and a whole bunch of other really cool people. I just thought that were really innovative in their jiu-jitsu, and that's what I was looking for, something to really keep me ahead of the ball. Yeah. And a friend of mine had told me, hey, you know, the Mendes brothers are coming out to Australia for a seminar tour, and I went, are you kidding me? So I contacted the guy that was bringing them out, and I said, do you know if anyone's bringing them out to the Gold Coast where we live in Queensland, Australia? And I said, and he said, yeah, no, nobody. And I said, I want to put my hand up. If that's possible, can we get them out for a seminar? And he goes, yeah, sure. It was easy, organized a seminar. I contacted my friend PJ, he's from Canada, Pura. And I know he knew the Mendes brothers for a long time as well. And I said, hey, PJ, you know, do you know anything about the Mendes brothers? Is it going to be really cool? And he said, Juggs, it's going to change the way you look at jiu-jitsu. And I went, cool, I'm excited. He goes, man, look, your life will change after this, jiu-jitsu wise after this. And they came out, I picked them up, got along really well. The first seminar was mind-blowing. Simple, tiny little details that sometimes I think I couldn't believe that it would take 10 years in doing an art for someone to teach me fine, tiny little details. Yeah. Not just, you know, a lot of people think that the Mendes brothers are just, you know, inverted berimbolas, you know, leg drags and competition. Their teaching is top notch. It's number one. It's the best teaching I've ever experienced. And I've been to a lot of seminars, and the tiniest of little details is the things I take away every time. And we hit it off really well on the first weekend. They're about to come back here and set up their academy back in California, and it was only like weeks away after the seminar, and they basically said, you know, who's your coach? And I said, I don't have a coach anymore, you know, I'm down. And how long have you been a brown belt for? And I went, oh, you know, 3 or so, you know, years, nearly 4 years. And they're like, oh, and then basically they said, you should look into our affiliate program. And I went, okay, I didn't even know there was an affiliate program. So yeah, they flew home, and yeah, they messaged me about a week later and said, hey, you still, you know, thinking? And I was still in wonderland from the techniques, you know. I hadn't even thought about that. And yeah, we became really good friends and just really hit it off. I think we really get along really well. And I was like, sure, I need a coach. Awesome. I need someone to look up to. So yeah, it changed my jiu-jitsu for sure. It's not been the same since.
Right. I want to go back on a couple points you talked about. You mentioned you had your brown belt for a few years at that point. Who gave you your brown belt? I
got my brown belt from Vincent Perry. He runs an academy pretty close to where we live as well, and he's a black belt under John Will. I did a lot of my jiu-jitsu there. I think in anyone's jiu-jitsu journey, you want to fly the coop. And it wasn't about I wanted to fly the coop because I was unhappy. I just wanted to. It's the same thing I say to all my students. I said, one day I want you to go and open your own academy, or do what you want to do, or do this. You know, I want to raise you to a black belt, and then if you feel you want to open another academy, good. Because I think that's what you should do. As I don't have children. I treat my students like they're my family, like they're my sons and my daughters. You know, they're like my kids, and any father would want their children to be better than they are. So that's the way I look at it. And I was the same. I was like, you know what? I had an epiphany one day. I was in a really bad spot, and I realized, you know, I don't know what I want to do with my life. You know, I was working a shitty job like most people. I didn't know what I want to do. So, and then one day I was teaching class, and I was like, you know what, I love doing this. I love teaching, this is fun. This is what I love every night. I love teaching when I come to the academy and I teach. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna start teaching. Somehow, you know, even if I'm still working a shitty job, I still wanna be teaching, because that's my happy time. Even if it's 2 hours a day, I know that the rest of the 22 hours of my day will still be okay. And yeah, I said to my professor or coach at the time, and I said, look, you know, I'm gonna give myself, you know, 12 months. And if I'm not teaching in 12 months, you know, I think I might even quit altogether. And I've been doing jiu-jitsu for over, 12 years, I think. And I just went, you know what, I think I'm gonna call it a day. I was at that dangerous spot, you know, that brown belt spot. And but so I decided to open my own academy, and I just really wanted to teach. That's what I wanted to do. And now I love it. Yeah. I literally said to Afra, I said, okay, if my toes are not on the mat, you're going to come and slap them, and I'm going to do 10 push-ups. I reckon I did about at least 180 that day.
As soon as I get to this position, I bring my knee back towards my chest and get like a stabbing position with my heel. Grab the guy's belt, push a little bit, come to my toes.